This week, X-Men Blue Origin dropped a huge reveal about Nightcrawler's past that, to real OG Nightcrawler fans like myself, is not only unsurprising, but it's something that we've known has been in the works or was a possibility previously. But in this era of incredibly antagonistic politics, this reveal has the same predictable whiny man children on comics Twitter and certain corners of Reddit incredibly, hilariously upset. Now, if you don't know this huge reveal, I'm gonna spoil it for you. It's that Mystique, who was previously understood to be Nightcrawler's mom, was actually Nightcrawler's dad. Yeah, but I'm gonna talk about how this is not only a good thing, but also how this was one of Kurt's main writer's original intentions, and why there's a huge precedent for it in Marvel Comics history. And if it triggers you, then you're just a sad, pathetic man-baby who's upset about a Catholic pirate devil, because the future is nothing but culture war. So stick around, mein Backpfeifengeschichte friend. I'm Dan Umthen, and this is the Doomcast. Alright, so first things first, do me a favor, hit subscribe and the bell. I make about one of these videos a week. They're all truly great, so please don't miss even one. And yes, this was my excuse to use my very favorite, incredibly specific German word, Backpfeifengeschichte. A person with an extremely punchable face. In fact, it translates precisely to a face in need of a fist, which, say what you want about the German people, the language is chef's kiss, incredibly specific. Backpfeifengeschichte. Even fun to say, it sounds like a fist crushing the cartilage in a human septum. Anyway, sorry for the spoilers, but you didn't just stumble on this video. You were probably looking specifically for something about this. You weren't looking for potato and leek soup recipes, I don't presume. So here's the zip file download. After the fall of Krakoa, Kurt escaped to New York City, linked up with Peter Parker. Using a borrowed Spider-Man suit, he took on the guise of Spider-Man, colloquially known as Hellcrawler because of his devilish appearance. And that tail was still pretty obvious. He found Mystique in her accidentally, not going to spoil the reason she's disguised, and of course her fall during Fall of X looked like it had killed her, but it really did mess her up. But in X-Men Blue Origins, it was revealed that in fact Nightcrawler's parents are not Azazel and Mystique as previously believed, but in fact Mystique and Destiny, Irene Adler. Yes, Mystique, a mutant shapeshifter who canonically and most frequently presents as a woman, and Destiny, Irene Adler, an ancient Victorian British precognitive mutant cis female lesbian. Those two are Kurt's parents, and yeah, please try not to think about it too awfully hard. And if you do manage to not think about it too awfully hard, you are technically the least horny X-Men fan. Especially if you don't think about it too hard. But let me tell you, homophobic fanboys are already thinking about it way too hard. So listen, first off, I'm a huge Nightcrawler fan. Maybe the biggest. I might own nearly every comic appearance of Nightcrawler, or at least I'm pretty close, as far as I'm aware. He is bar none my favorite X-person, so I'm absolutely fine with this origin. Further, I prefer it. Oh, Dan, it's just because you're a virtue-signaling wokester. Okay, so we do agree that supporting representation of LGBTQ lifestyles in fiction is a virtue, and that I'm signaling it, and yes, to all of that, but I'm also an actual fan who reads comics and knows what we're talking about in his history, but don't worry, we'll get to that. Also, I hate Azazel. He's like the Waluigi to Kurt's, I guess in this metaphor, Kurt's Luigi. I don't know why, but it does kind of fit. The biggest problem with homophobes and transphobes that don't read comics is that they think this is suddenly some new woke shit. Yeah, bitch, they're already lesbians. And they're upset because they think that this makes Mystique a trans person and makes the process of conception impossible canonically. I don't know why they're obsessed with the latter, but one, no it doesn't, and two, no it doesn't. So to the first, Mystique has not solidified, two on the nose, stated her gender identity in comics, but in this case is at least gender fluid, if not non-binary, but generally presents as femme. Up until this point, no uproar, no problem. Their problem, hilariously, is that she can't produce sperm. That's not her power. And oh my god, bud, sure she could. Why not? If you had told me 7 years ago that I was going to make a YouTube video explaining how fictional sperm works in the Marvel Universe for shapeshifters, I would have believed you. Again, this was always the plan for Kurt's origin, but we will get to that. So here's why she's able to do this. If her power is shapeshifting convincingly, she's transforming herself at a cellular, molecular level, hence DNA, height, weight, eye color, hair follicles, skin, heart, muscle, bone tissue, blood, anything else to convincingly replicate a person. As far as I know, she just can't replicate another mutant's powers in their entirety. If she didn't have pretty specific cellular and molecular control, it'd be very hard to change any of that. So gonads and their reproductive cells, like sperm or eggs, are not a stretch at all. And it's also not a stretch for actual real biology for reptiles or amphibians or even human beings who are born with both sets of genitals. And yes, that happens much more frequently than you would think. But even if it wasn't, my guy, my brother in Christ, she's a fictional character who's a mutant. Clark Kent has been hiding his identity with the same pair of glasses for 80 years. Suspension of disbelief. Moreover, a shapeshifter conceiving a child with somebody else while disguised as somebody else has happened in the Marvel Universe before. In fact, if I had a nickel for every single time it's happened, I'd have 15 cents, which would be exactly what your opinion on this is worth, and what my opinion is on this is worth, and technically how much coincidentally your view is worth to me in monetization. Maybe? Technically. Dylan Brock was conceived partly by Eddie Brock and partly by Venom. Also, Tigra's son is actually half Skrull, technically, while being biologically Hank Pym's son, because the Skrull who fathered him was shifted into Hank Pym at that time, which proves that shapeshifting in the Marvel Universe allows for not just transgender, but also trans-species conception. Moreover, Mystique and Destiny was the blueprint for Kurt, for his origin. Chris Claremont's original plan was for Nightmare to be Kurt's father, but when Roger Stern, who was writing Doctor Strange at the time, pulled rank, Chris Claremont conceived of having Mystique and Destiny instead be his parents. Yes, exactly. Editorial was like, nope, you can't do that. That is way too controversial. Well, guess what, baby? 30-some years later, Chris Claremont was right all along, and your favorite elf technically has 2 mommies and a 3rd daddy. That's wild, but it's technically because Mystique was Azazel at the time, which actually this makes Kurt's origin better and cleaner, in my opinion, because Azazel being his father, at least he has 2 mutant parents now. Azazel being his father was like kind of a mutant, but a literal demon. I don't like Azazel at all. Scott Lobdell, back 5 inches, created him just to make up a father for Nightcrawler, and I then didn't really use him. Anyway, what did we learn today? That shapeshifters have fathered children under the guise of somebody else at least 2 different times in Marvel Universe, and that this origin was pretty much exactly what Chris Claremont wanted, even if the editors didn't at the time, and he eventually got his way. So, no reason to be all bent out of shape. This is exactly what was intended by the original creator of his origin, and not only does it make perfect sense in the universe, it's been the plan for a very long time. So, thanks for watching. This has been the Doomcast. See you next week.